welcome. You're watching Cricbuzz live, and well, rain came, it saw, it stayed, but it couldn't conquer. It was a 9-over per side game. The first innings is done. Zimbabwe, of course, had won the toss and opted to bat first. And in their 9 overs, they've managed a decentish score on the board. I mean, they did lose wickets, a lot of them at the start. 9 overs, 79 for 5. Madavere was out there, not out 35. You had some runs from Shumba, then Chakabva as well. But all of South African bowlers would be happy because a lot of them got a lot of wickets. We've got happy panelists here as well. Zaheer Khan, Joy Bhattacharjya. Gentlemen, welcome. First of all, I need to know what happened in that last over. Why the penalty runs and why was the ball not counted? Because we were ready to go on air and then suddenly we see that Andrik Nokia has come in to bowl another ball. I mean, he got 1 wicket. But what happened there, Zach?
The ball not counted is something which I was not aware of, but the penalty runs, I was very clear.
Yeah.
If the keeper takes off his glove or any fielder who is sitting a short leg or something like that, more often than not, you've seen in test matches where they keep the helmets back behind the keeper exactly in line. If the ball hits that, then it's the 5 runs is awarded to the batting side as a penalty.
Yeah.
So here, because the glove is out, and the ball has touched the glove when it's not actually where the keeper is wearing that, that's the rule. It happens with the cap as well. If the cap is also out from a fielder, if he drops the cap and the ball hits that, then the 5 penalty runs technically should be awarded to the batting team.
Yeah, correct. So will Zimbabwe be happy right now? Because they chose to bat first on this track and then the conditions changed drastically. I mean, it was reduced to a 9-over game. They didn't really take that decision keeping this in mind, but now that they have that score on the board, 79 for 5, would they be happy?
I think they are happier than they would have been after the first 3-4 overs, given the fact that they reached, 79 or 84, whatever the score is at this point in time. But I think they lost those early wickets. I mean, they're the batsmen that they expected to get runs from: Sean Irvine, Sean Williams, Sikandar Raza, all of them out, some razor-sharp fielding, some great bowling up front. And if you look at it, even if you regard this entire over, in a 9-over match, if only 3 of your overs have gone for 10 runs or more, I think it's a terrific bowling effort because the batsman was waiting to go from ball 1. As we know, this is a pretty small ground. The first match was also played out here. And there's rain, which means that the ball will skid onto you. That means, you can hit the ball harder, basically. And you saw a few misfields for that as well because, Ngidi couldn't take a catch. So I think, given all those circumstances, 84 is not a great score, or 79 is also not a great score. But, when you're 26 for 4, that's probably a pretty good score.
Yeah, and Zach, I mean, keeping in mind the conditions, the fact that it was still very wet out there, and we could see that the tyres on those small cameras as well, they were very wet. How well did the South African bowlers bowl there?
I think they did well. When the game is shortened, you know that the batters are always going to look to come at you. 10 runs per over is pretty much given because this is pretty much death overs. You know that the team chances of team getting all out in 54 deliveries is very, very slim. So as a bowler, you are under pressure for sure. Looking at the conditions and the way South African bowlers bowled, I think they did well, especially those early wickets. That was very, very important and crucial. They hit the hard lengths, and that's something which was expected. If it was a 20-over game, things would have been even more easier that way for South African bowlers because the ploy would have been the same. Give these batters extra pace, extra bounce, and those hard lengths not very easy to get away. In a shortened game, what happens is that at times 2 or 3 overs can really change the game, and that's something which South Africa will have to be wary of. You can't just think that, okay, just 80 runs, 80 odd runs, you can take your time. You still don't have that luxury of time in this. And the intent should be still to finish the game as soon as possible. 3 overs of power play. So, you would go out and look to encash on that from the word go for sure. But yeah, these games can be tricky. So shortened game, Zimbabwe must be thinking that, okay, we've done reasonably well. Here, you can get this team under pressure, 2-3 wickets here, there, maybe run-outs or something can create that panic. And if that panic is created, anything can happen. So I think that's what that's what Zimbabwean team will be thinking right now. And South Africa should rather just focus on sticking to the basics, making use of that power play, and still look to have that intent of finishing the game as soon as possible.
I think for starters, Joy, South Africa would just be happy that they had a game. They would have gone like, they would have seen the rain and they would have gone like, not again at a World Cup, man. Come on.
No, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you because, see, they are expected to win a match against Zimbabwe. Okay? If they lost points out here, what it would mean is that the other teams, India and Pakistan, who are the stronger teams, would have an advantage because you're 1 point short in a game where you should have taken 2 points. So, and what happens then is run rate goes out of the equation totally because you have that odd team which has sort of, one point each. So run rate goes out of it totally. So I think South Africans are really relieved the match is happening. But as Zach said, it's a very tricky match. 1 over, 1 edge, couple of batsmen out. Suddenly you're under pressure. It's 12 or 13, or it can be a walk in the park. It all depends. But the shorter the format, the more randomness comes into it, where 1 wicket, something can make a huge difference. So it's a tricky chase. I won't say it's a tough chase, but it's a tricky chase.
Yeah. So will that perhaps give Zimbabwe also that added confidence? They know that you've got the pacers, the conditions are nice. At least initially, when the ball is not wet, they'd be fancying their chances, as Joy mentioned. Get those quick wickets, and you never know.
Well, I would say both the teams are in with a chance.
Oh, okay.
So because that's the nature of these kind of games. Suddenly a panic is set in the dressing room when you lost. You thought that, okay, you're cruising. So suppose you have like 3 overs, you scored 35, 40 runs in the first 3 overs. You still have 40 runs to get in about 6 overs, which is still runnable. And you lose 1 over, 3 wickets suddenly. A panic can set, a over of wickets backed by another over. Suddenly you don't know, at times you lose wickets under pressure. You've seen some bad calling, run outs. You've seen that happen in cricket. And because the game is so short, you can't, even though that's why I like the word tricky. It's going to be a tricky chase. It can be very easy chase, but things can get tricky, and that's something which South African team which right now have to be just wary of. You finish the game. Till the time the game is not finished, you don't relax. Think that okay, we've done the job. The job is done when you get that total and reach that target, and then you can just relax because you know that okay, these 2 points you deserve. In a full game, you would have secured those 2 points. But right now, you don't want to be falling in a situation which can create more troubles for you than any of the relief.
It's a trick question for South Africa. Let's have a look at their batting order. They still pack a lot of power, but as Zach mentioned, anything can happen in these short games. Quinton de Kock, Timber Bavuma to open, and then begins the engine room of South Africa. Riley Russo, Aiden Markram, David Miller, Tristan Stubbs, Wayne Parnell, Keshav Maharaj, Kagiso Rabada. They would hope that it doesn't come to Kagiso Rabada, but they pack a lot of power. Before we go, Joy, real quick, Aaron Finch was asked about rain-truncated games, and he said that sometimes when you've got these shortened games, we try to change our batting order as well to suit the demands of the game. Now that you have a target on the board, would you change that, or would you go just the conventional way?
I would go the conventional way because they haven't set a huge target. I mean, your asking is not that high to start with. It's asking is about 9 to start with. It's not that high. And the thing about it is they can afford to lose wickets as long as a couple of wickets they can absorb. It's more than that, 3-4 wickets and then they'll be in trouble. But I think that's what they have to do. They have to say that whoever's up front, nobody can afford to eat balls in a match like that. So Bavuma will have to get going up front. I mean, that's the only thing I'd say. And they can't. You cannot have the captain not start batting in a chase in the first match of a World Cup because you think it's a truncated match. It's a bad message to send out everywhere. So I think Bavuma will walk out. But he's got to be careful because given the strike rate that he's had of late, 106, 107, it's best that he sort of goes for it ASAP.
Yeah, he has walked out and South Africa have walked out to gun this down. How soon can they gun this down? Can Zimbabwe alter their plans? Can Zimbabwe hamper the party for South Africa? All of that remains to be seen. We will not be back at the 10th over mark because there won't be a combo box. There are no 10 overs. It's a 9 over game. So we'll be back after the game. That's all on Cricbuzz Live right now. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Joy, for joining in. Thank you to all of you as well. We'll see you all super soon.